Number 1. Why did APIS start?
APIS Hawaii started as an outgrowth of our Seoul campus, right? As you know, part of the major part of our mission as a school is bridging the gap between East and West.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Kim's vision from the beginning was to start our first campus in the East and then to eventually move and have a campus in the West also. Right? So Hawaii in particular made sense to us because Hawaii is the meeting point of East and West. So rather than going just from Seoul and then starting a campus like in the US mainland, we decided Hawaii would be the spot that would be the best second campus.
Okay. So this is question number 3 because I feel like you already answered question 2. So how did APIS developed?
Well, so what's really interesting is we spent about 3 years looking for a piece of property that would be suitable for a school in Hawaii. We looked at a couple properties on the other side of the island to begin with.
In the leeward side?
What's that?
In the leeward side?
Yes, leeward side, over on sort of the west side. But neither of those properties really was as suitable for a school, and some of them were in rough neighborhoods. But we eventually found this property over here on Windward North Shore. And it just was beautiful. And it had 9 buildings already in existence that just needed to be remodeled. And we felt like the land that it had for agriculture and the stream running through it and all those things really made this an ideal spot for APIS second campus.
Alright. So if you don't have anything more to add on to that, now let's move on to our next question.
Sure.
Are there any challenges of developing APIS? If they are, what are they?
So many challenges. Whenever you take on a major endeavor like this, there are going to be challenges, right? So we knew that. First, right off the beginning, the challenge was this property had been vacant for 11 years. So it was totally overgrown by the jungle and the grasses. You know, there was grass up to the roofs on some of these buildings.
Wow.
A number of the buildings had homeless people that had broken in and were living in there, so they were a mess. Some of the buildings had all the pipes stolen out of it to sell for copper. So when we first came in, the biggest challenge for the whole first year was just cleaning the property up, remodeling, getting it so that it would be suitable for a school.
I thought it would take a lot of effort to make it into school. Many buildings were not completed, but it was a beautiful place with amazing view of the Pacific Ocean. It really felt safe.
Chasing a rat through the house with a baseball bat and sleep. We got it. But, you know, once we got things patched up and cleaned up and the jungle beat back, all that kind of went away. But those were some pretty fun times coming and just sort of living here when it was pretty wild. Probably, I would say we've gotten past the big challenge of getting the buildings ready to be able to be used. So now our new challenge is getting word out about how amazing this place is so that we can start attracting more students, right? There's some great things this first 2 years, as you've experienced as students, about being small, all the extra attention you get from teachers and things. But I imagine as students, you're also starting to get ready to want sort of that life that's here with more kids, right? And we'd like that too. So that's probably our next, clearly say, this is a unique style of education. Here's why you should come to APIS.
Of APIS Hawaii. When I came during PBL/NPCA during 2015, December, I met a lot of people here. I noticed all the lifestyles, and I'm like, hey, this place looks great.
Alright. Number 4. In your opinion, what are some of the differences between Seoul and the campus here?
Most of the time I realized that APIS Hawaii is more free and more it kind of loosens the leash for students and kind of makes them do their own thing, and like the power is not really like condensed in Hawaii as much as APIS Seoul is, and I think that's the main difference.
So I think I'm going to love this question, man. what was your impression of Hawaii campus when you first seen it? Like when you first came?
Yeah, well, so funny thing is that I found this campus online and sent it to Dr. Kim because he had been looking at properties and he had shared with me a service that we subscribed to look for property. And I found this and emailed it to him. He flew over and looked at it and immediately started sending me pictures. And I think one of the things Dr. Kim and I have in common, which is part of why we work well together, is we both have a knack to be able to see what could be instead of what is, right? Because a lot of people I think that would have looked at this property and went, oh man, that's just a dump. There's so much work to be done. But both of us can just see what you're starting to see now, right? We can envision in our head this beautiful mowed field looking out at the ocean and a pool going in over there and just this really unique spot. So for me, my first impressions really were that. We're seeing, wow, this is this incredible diamond in the rough. It's like, you know, like a guy who's just been out camping for months and let their beard grow all out and get all gross, and you realize if I shave that beard and clean him up, he's really handsome. That's what we saw in this property. So it was exciting from the beginning to me of knowing if we cleaned it up, it would just be this incredible place.
Like you saw opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity for sure.
So next question is still really redundant, but what do you lose or gain by overcoming those challenges?
Wow. As an organization, there's things that you lose or gain, I think, whenever you take on something new. And then as a personal standpoint, the same thing. Obviously, I was very happy in Seoul, working at the campus there. Most industries today, they look very different than they did 100 years ago, but schools don't. They look kind of the same. And
Like
so,
20th century.
yeah, right. The 21st century stuff. It's talking about, you know, are we preparing kids for our past or for your future? And so APS Hawaii really is committed to putting the kind of education together that is preparing you for the future you're going to inherit, rather than just doing things the way they've always been done. That's a big challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity.
Thank you. Now, this is a question written by me. So, why did you decide to change your position to Hawaii rather than staying in Seoul campus?
Yeah. Those are the kinds of things that I like, and I knew this was an opportunity for me to come and have sort of a blank canvas to write on. Property that wasn't all developed, programs that weren't developed, teachers that weren't there. So it was sort of like Dr. Kim and I could come and be artists building something brand new here. That was really exciting to me. It's part of what took me to Seoul also. I had been 17 years in one school in California most of my career. That school also happened to have been the school I went kindergarten through high school at. So I was looking for something new when I went to Seoul. When we got there, we were able to do all kinds of things too, like expand the bottom wing to build the Christian Life Center. And then the fourth floor, remember, we expanded, put in the counselors center and the recording arts and things like that. So I've always liked challenges of getting to create new things, and this gave me a big chance to do that again.
You like challenges.
I do.
You love them. But what is your emphasis on your education here different from Seoul campus? I think you love this question.
Sure. So part of the challenge of being sort of one school with two campuses is there are some things that need to stay the same, right? So that you're still a cohesive family. And then there are some things you can do differently. So our mission stays the same. Our mission statement for both campuses is the same. Our core values remain the same. The goal of being a school that is preparing students for successful futures at top universities as well as life beyond that. Same at both campuses, right? I think, you know, coming here, again, the challenge was we've been very, very successful in Seoul at that. Our students do really well. They don't only just get into great universities, but when they get there, they tend to do well, above the average, you know, what students do in college. So coming here, the idea was, can we deliver that same high quality? Can we deliver the same personal touch and care for our students and use a different instructional model that we feel will even better prepare kids for the future? In Seoul, we're moving more and more to project-based and interdisciplinary learning as well, which is, I think, really important for the future. But it's a slower change because, and changing something is harder than making it new. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to go slower and make sure everybody understands the change you're putting in. Whereas here, again, we got to sort of blank slate, create it from the beginning. So the big difference is instructional practice, the way we're delivering the same standards. So the academic standards that we're trying to reach are the same in both campuses. The way we go about it here is a little different than it is in Seoul.
Can you be a little more detailed, if possible?
Sure. So a lot of our work here is based off of the work of Daniel Pink, and he wrote a book called The Whole New Mind, that talks a lot about the change of the world from, he kind of tracks us going from an agrarian society, right, to the Industrial Revolution, and then to what he would call the information age, where, workers in the beginning kind of do the one-room schoolhouses. All kids needed to do was have the basic skills because they were going to farm and do things like that in the agricultural age. Then the industrial era came around, and modern schooling really grew up in the industrial age, right? And what they were looking for is just sort of a basic level of literacy and a group of workers who were sort of trained to move on a bell and do what they were told and be on time and work hard. As we moved sort of into the later 20th century, Daniel Pink would say it was the information age, sort of the white collar workers, the middle class, right? A lot of work and things where information was the most important thing. So schools, as you even have known them, and definitely as I knew them, really involved the idea of information scarcity, right? The internet didn't exist.
Like
So,
knowing a lot?
right, so the place you would go to get knowledge and information was school, right? Or the library. The internet comes around, global economies start getting connected, and now we live in an age that he would say is an age of information abundance.
In my eyes, project-based learning allows students to really deep dive on things that really matters and learn critical problem-solving skills. This is not the days that I was in school. You don't have library cards, you don't have a library stacks, you don't even have microfiche, and I'm sure that you don't even know what microfiche looks like. You can Google anything. Knowledge in my days was scarce. It took lots of efforts to find knowledge. Now it's the other way. Knowledge is abundant, knowledge is everywhere. Learning to actually find the knowledge and synthesize it, and that's actually more needed skills these days than actually being able to cramming and memorizing more facts. And project-based learning actually gives that. APIS, especially APIS Hawaii, is fully committed to the project-based learning experience, and I'm glad that Alex is in Hawaii learning it. Sure, he would have gotten some in Seoul campus, but not in the level that he's receiving in Hawaii.
You have so much more information than I could ever master, right?
Yeah.
So now what's switching is the idea is what's more important are the soft skills rather than the flat knowledge. You need to know, how do I know if the information I'm getting is reliable, if it's biased or not biased. It's like we say, it's no longer enough to know things. What you do with what you know is what's important. So that's why you see the education that we're doing here is really addressing that. Students collaborating, working together, sharing knowledge. Students applying things to like your GIA class, right?
Yeah.
Looking at how can we solve real problems in the world.
So it started back in August 2015, and much of what you see around the campus today was not here. The lanais were covered, that basketball court looked much more apparent when we got here. And then, first day of school started, we just started getting to work, started getting out the curricula. Students started coming in, and little by little, throughout the weeks and months, and now almost 2 years, the classrooms begin to develop, and little additions to the campus.
So, are there any challenge of developing APIS and your job while teaching, and why?
My job specifically was a little tough. Some aspects, being so small, we don't have a lot of students, so that created an issue for a music class, because when it's bigger and larger, you could have a large choir, you could have orchestra, you could have a concert band. Something smaller, there's still things you can do, like a rock band or something along those lines. However, at the same time, everyone was kind of at a different skill level. Everyone had different interests, but they were all in the same class. So a lot of this beginning period has been an attempt to kind of level the playing field in terms of singing and in terms of playing and just basic musical understanding. I think we've come a long way. I would restructure the class format so that everyone could develop on their own and pursue their own interests, their own music. But as the other part of that structure, I'd also still have the students play all together. During some time in that class, I would find something that we could all do together so that we'd still have a class-like atmosphere and an activity in which we got to play between LC3 and LC4 and had dinner on LC3 lanai, and I got to meet everyone, and we had, I think, Korean barbecue, which was delicious, and then the next day we started having training, and I started to get to know everyone. Everyone seems very friendly, easy to get along with. The weight of having to plan my own class and have to prepare for all of that really began to hit me those first couple of days. No one was exactly sure what we would have in our first class, what classes everyone would be teaching exactly, how many students were we going to have, what grades would we be teaching. There was a lot of ambiguity in terms of all that.
Let's go, focus, fire gun. We need someone to lean on. Focus, fire gun. All we need is somebody to lean on. Focus, fire gun. We need someone to lean on. Focus, fire gun. All we need is somebody to lean on.
It's okay, you want to take time and because I can time.
I can turn the camera off if you want to.
Shoot a little bit of me saying that because I'm having trouble making this.
I've been showing it. And here for now? Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
I think we should